Clerk will call the roll.
Glenn Whitley, County Judge.
Here.
Roy Charles Brooks, Commissioner Precinct 1.
Present.
Devin Allen, Commissioner Precinct 2.
Good morning, I'm here.
Good morning. Gary Fickus, Commissioner Precinct 3.
Here.
J.D. Johnson, Commissioner Precinct 4.
Here.
Constitutes a quorum.
Thank you. Our invocation this morning will be delivered by Rabbi Charlie Citron Walker from the Congregation Beth Israel in Colleyville. Thank you so much for being here today. After the invocation, please remain standing for our pledges.
It's great to see y'all.
Morning.
Before I begin, I'd like to invite everyone to the Peace Together Walk, focused on building relationships with our neighbors this Saturday that will be held in Colleyville. I also wanted to take a moment of personal gratitude and honor the memory of Neil Straussman, who used to work here. May his memory always be for a blessing. He set it up years ago so that I would be able to join you on Election Day for many years, and I'm honored to be given this opportunity once again. Zichrono livracha. Again, may Neil's memory always be for a blessing.
Amen.
As the Commissioner's Court opens this Election Day morning, I ask God and the source of one's personal spirituality, however you find that sense of connection, to open our hearts and minds to one another. Because life has been really hard, y'all. It's been hard for too many people. And it's been made harder due to all of the division and mistrust and disinformation. According to our rabbis, the second temple that stood in Jerusalem was destroyed due to sinat chinam, baseless hatred. Living in our society today, bearing witness to all that we are going through and experiencing, the anger that we see within our society, I'm starting to understand just how destructive baseless hatred can be.
Yes.
Yet I come here this morning with a word of hope, because I know that every religious tradition has some version of the values of love your neighbor as yourself. Don't hate another in your heart. Fear can be calmed. Trust that has been eroded can be restored. Bridges can be built across divides, no matter how wide they may seem. We can be a community. And such work needs to take place right here, in this room, with all who are gathered here today. So on this day and every day, I pray that this court be granted the empathy to love your neighbors and citizens and all who come before you as yourselves. May this court look past all of the posturing and be granted the understanding and wisdom to lead us with justice and compassion. With your words and your deeds, reduce hatred and fear. Bring faith and confidence in our democracy, especially on this election day, and bring peace within our county. We thank you for this court, for its vital work. Help them to live up to their highest ideals as they work for the benefit of all people under their care. Keni Hiratson, may this be your will.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, and thank you for the great work y'all do.
Thank you. Mr. Manius.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the Court, we have various announcements as it relates to the agenda this morning. First of all, under the Administrator section, item 9A9, we're going to ask that that be removed from the consent agenda and handle it as an action item. We have one audience participation form as it relates to that particular item. Also, members of the court, as we have done in the past, we're going to take several things out of order this morning. We're going to go ahead and start after we get to the administrator section, and we'll ask Mr. Tenasia to move forward with his health update. Then we're also going to, under the administrator's office, after we have a presentation, we will have a presentation, by the way, on item number 1. Ms. Camarano is going to be doing that. And then we're also going to go ahead and take several items before we move to item number 3. We're going to have the item number 4, which is the appointment of the county's chief medical examiner. And then we're going to move to item 6. We have a representative from TTI here, and we will take that up, and then we'll move back to our regular order of the agenda, which will start on item number 2. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. I know it says Commissioners' announcements. I mean, we're going to have to talk about this, but I'm going to go to approval of the minutes. I would like for us to see if we might move I know we're trying to make sure that the court can make their announcements, but if we could move that maybe right before proclamations and resolutions.
The only reason we put it up there, because I know that when we do like this group here, we dismiss them to go, and so I thought the announcements might be heard by the entire, but we'll be more than happy to move that any place you'd like for us to.
Or just leave it where it is, and I'll move it wherever I want to. Sorry about that. Court members, you have before you the minutes of our regular meeting of October the 26th.
Move approved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote.
Yes.
What he said? Nope. Go ahead. There you go. There you go. Now motion passes unanimously. Commissioners' announcements?
I do have some. Thank you, Judge. Let's see. Well, as shared in our invocation, today is, of course, Election Day. So please make sure that you make your voice heard. Again, if you are a resident of Precinct 2 and specifically reside in Mansfield ISD, there is a penny swap item on your ballot. And then countywide, we have 2 propositions, and then there are 8 constitutional amendments at the state level. Also, this coming Saturday, November 6th, we are hosting our second drive-through vaccine clinic. And that's from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Bowie High School. That's at the corner of High Bank Drive and Sherry. Initial doses will be provided as well as boosters. And then, of course, also on Saturday, the Mansfield Veterans Day Parade is occurring. It starts at 10 a.m. in historic downtown Mansfield. We will be saluting veterans and have a parade, and then a ceremony to follow shortly thereafter. And that's all I have.
Okay, anybody else? We still have our auction going on for those of y'all, our United Way auction. This says it's going to go on through November the 8th, but I think we might try to extend that a little bit, so we won't end on the 8th. We'll carry that forward, and we'll get with you next week and let you know how far we're going to carry it forward. We realize that there are some items that have time constraints on them, so we'll be through, I know, before Thanksgiving, but I just don't know how much before Thanksgiving. We'll be through, and we'll announce the extension and get that out to everybody. So please go there. Again, if the county raises $100,000, somebody will get to help shave my head. I'm not worried. But I do see a couple of bald heads over there that maybe I should be. Any other announcements at this time? Okay, then I believe that under our proclamations and resolutions, the one thing we have today is employee recognition, which again is one of my favorite times. This month we had close to 17 or 18 people who were 25 plus years of service to the county. And so I had an opportunity to call and to talk with them. And it's really fun. I try to do it on the weekends because that way everybody's a little bit more relaxed. It doesn't mean they'll tell me anything more, but they're a little bit more relaxed about it. And it's just amazing to hear their passion for public service. And so I'll say that, but now as I get into basically recognizing those folks who are at 5, 10, 15 years of service, and 20, I reiterate again how important y'all are to making Tarrant County what Tarrant County is, and it's what I feel like is the best form of government, because it's one that is closer to the people and deals with the people more than just about any other form of government. The routine here is I start off with the 5 years, all the rookies. When I call your name or what sounds like your name or where you happen to be in the alphabet, please stand and stay standing until I've completed that group of folks. Phonics was never my thing, and so that's why I always try to say, just kind of, you know where you are in the alphabet. If you know you should be next, regardless of how bad it sounds, please stand. So we'll begin with our 5-year employees. First is Kyle Andrews with Information Technology. Kyle. Antonio Aguiarno, Public Health. Jasmine Banks, Criminal District Attorney's Office. Gabriello Calderon, Tax Office. Cesar Castellano, Jr., Sheriff's Office. Courtney Choate, Jury Administration. Roberto Espinano, Jr., yeah, that's 2. Public Health. Yeah, I hear you laughing, JD. Jose George, Information Technology. Vannery Glenn, Information Technology. Christina Hernandez, Facility Management. Emily Kirby, Criminal District Attorney's Office. Amy Martin, Precinct 4 Maintenance. David Merton, Constable, Precinct 7. James Nowick, Information Technology. Edpin Orguano, Public Health. Okay, you're going to have to, because I got a feeling I didn't get that quite right.
It's on no.
That's what I meant to say. Thank you for being here. Kelly Raines, Sheriff's Office. Rebecca Sambase, Medical Examiner's Office. Jared Thompson, Veteran Services. Eric Torrey, Transportation Services. Thank you, sir. Cicely Valentine, Sheriff's Office. These are our 5-year employees. Again, thank you very much. Now for our 10-year employees. Maria Salazar, County Clerk's Office. Kajaitan Way, Public Health. That's one of those that if it sounds like you or you know where you are in the alphabet, please stand. These are our 10-year employees. Thank you for being here. Now for our 15-year employees, Jennifer Batten, Juvenile Services. Hope Cruz, Domestic Relations Office. Yolanda Garza, District Clerk's Office. Maria Gonzalez, Tax Office. John Hernandez, Sheriff's Office. Ashley Marinano, Juvenile Services. Donna McClung, Elections. Now we know where she, oh, there you are. Glenda Redeemer, Public Health. Glenda. Maria Reyna, Justice of the Peace, Precinct 5. Bobby Sheriff's Office? Okay.
Sequentes.
Yeah, Cervantes. See, they can do such a good job. I want to let them do it every once in a while. And they'd love to do it, I'm sure. Charlotte Toner, Sheriff's Office. These are our 15-year employees. Let's give them a hand. Now for our 20-year employees. Cedric Bailey, Sheriff's Office. Andrew Bryant, Information Technology. Lakeisha Luster, Sheriff's Office. T. Wynn, Criminal District Attorney's Office. Catherine Simpson, Criminal District Attorney's Office. Lysandra Smith, Sheriff's Office. Jeanette Taylor, Sheriff's Office. Jeff Williams, Information Technology. And these are our 20-year employees. Now for our 25 plus, I call and talk with them and have an opportunity to get some information. First is Christine Aurera, Domestic Relations Office. Started child support, DRO, and I think we're going to recognize somebody else that started at the same time with you that you always get your picture taken with.
That's right.
Right there. From there, you became a probation counselor. Started out part-time and then went full-time. When I asked her most memorable moments is when you first became a counselor.
Well, it was back when the monitoring program opened up.
Okay, and you moved over to you were in the old courthouse, I believe.
The old courthouse.
And you didn't have a real office, and so you just kind of went out scavenging.
That did it. Do it yourself.
Yeah.
Do it yourself.
That's probably a nicer word than just scavenging, but she found, she had one of the old computers, and it was all kinds of just stuff that she was able to find, part of which was cubicle.
Correct.
And so she's interviewing somebody one day, and the cubicle falls over on her.
Yeah, sure did. He was okay about it, though. He was lighthearted about it.
You were his probation counselor.
That's right.
So, yeah, he was going to be lighthearted about it until he got outside. He wasn't about to tell you what he really thought. I asked her what she likes most, and she says, again, she's in the family area. She said, I absolutely love working for the children. And that's at a time when you got to remember that children are often the ones that are in the middle and are being pulled apart, sometimes by both sides. And she says, I love the family feeling in our department. And I reiterate, I hear this over and over again. It's I love being able to help people. And that's what it's all about. She said, I can't believe that I've been here this long. He said, it just seems like maybe 5 years. She loves what she does. We're going to introduce Monica in a few minutes. They started on the same day, and they always get together. Whenever we have these anniversaries, they would always get together and make sure that on those days they took pictures with one another. And again, it's a family, and they came and they started with the family at the same time. And so, Christine, we can't tell you how much we appreciate the 25 years of service you've given to me. Thank you.
I just received my new printer this past week.
No, wait a minute. That's not the question. Did you receive it or did you find it?
This time I received it. It was actually delivered to me in the box.
In the box. Yeah. Thank you very much. So next I'm going to go ahead and kind of skip out of order. Well, I'll come back a little bit later on. The next person is Monica Andrus, jury administration. There she is. Started in probation, then moved over to jury services. Is Paula's assistant over there now. Memorable moments. As you know, over there, they'll take a big group, and then they'll seat panels to try to figure out and to finally pick the jurors that are going to. And she said there was this one time when she was seating people in the panel, and you've got specific seats you got to have, and it was this older gentleman, and he was wearing overalls, and he was walking over there, and the overalls just fell to the floor. And everybody laughed, and he just bent over, pulled up the overalls, and went on to where he was sitting down. My grandfather used to always wear overalls, and so I could relate to that story. What she likes most, she said, I love the people that she has a chance to work with. She says, I love her. He just absolutely loves her boss, Paula. She's thankful that she's had a job with the county and plans on being here until she retires. So I guess I'm trying to get myself mixed up here, and that's not difficult. But we want to thank you again for your 25 years of service for Tarrant County. Thank you very much. Next is, I'm waiting for it to pop, Paul Bell with the Sheriff's Office. Is Paul able to make it? He knew that he was going to be in a trial today and wasn't sure he was going to be able to make it, but if you see him, congratulate him. He's 25 years. He's the second generation Tarrant County employee. His dad worked for the Sheriff's Office and retired after about 30 years of service. So again, I asked him if he thought he was going to be here or what he liked most. He said, well, I've just known the county all my life, so I knew exactly what I was coming to and what to expect. And he said, I just love the county. Next, I didn't see Judge Hardy. I'm betting she's in a trial right now. But Cheryl Hardy is celebrating her 25th year with the county. She actually started in the DA's office and then was elected judge, as we'll see has happened before. Next is Brad Hearn with Community Development. There's Brad, 25 years of service. Started in community development and housing rehab. And then when Don Day retired, he went to infrastructure, which basically is working with cities on CDBG projects. It could be water, it could be any number of different things. His memorable moments, he said, were when he got to work, it was back in the housing rehab, when he would go into a senior's home and basically be able to rehab and help them be able to, one, stay in their home, but to be a little bit safer and more comfortable in their home. He said the county has always been like a second family to him. He said time has really flown by. And what many of them relate is when you love your job and when you don't look at it as a job, then all too often before you know it, you've been here 25, 30, or 35 years. He said, I appreciate everything the county has done, and continues to do for their folks. Brad, thank you very much for your service to Tarrant County. Next is Sonia King. Is Sonia here? There's Sonia. Started out in the sheriff's office as a clerk, then moved over to Green Bay as a floor officer and is now in booking. Her most memorable moment is getting to 25 years. Well, and the reason it's most memorable is there was a lot of folks in her family who didn't think she was going to make it 25 years. Well, we're going to get to you in a minute. We're going to get to you in a minute. And she said, I have loved the county. She said, there are so many different people that I have gotten a chance to meet and to work with. It has really been a pleasure. Her aunt, stand up, is one of them naysayers. But she retired from purchasing back in July. So you probably told her every once in a while what a good thing the county was. And and basically Sonia just said it's been a great journey. So thank you. And thank you for, even though you might have been a little uncertain in the beginning, you kept her on the right path, and we appreciate that. Thank y'all. Next is Delita Price with the District Clerk's Office. Started out in community supervision, then went to the District Clerk's Office and intake area at community supervision. Then as a file desk clerk, became associate clerk, and is now lead clerk with the District Clerk's Office. Memorable moments, she said, growing up with folks in the county. She said, basically, I came here and watched my kids and their kids. We've just been a family watching our families grow. She said the other memorable moment was moving into the new building. What she likes most is the togetherness, the family, again, the family atmosphere. And she said, finally, I'm just so glad that she started out with the county. Delita, we appreciate very much your service to Tarrant County. Thank you very much. Next is Jesus Reyes, Juvenile Services. Started out as a probation officer in the JJAEP program, which had, when he came, it had just started. So he was kind of in the starting phases of that. And then moved to the long-term residential program, which, as it was beginning, and was as a supervisor for the operations manager. And then he moved over to the facility administrator program, and now he's back overseeing the JJAEP program. Now, what that told me is that Mr. Cockrell, and for those of you who knew him, Curly makes sense, or doesn't make sense, had enough faith in you to put you in those new programs because he knew you would excel and that you would help in that regard. When I asked him about the most memorable event, he said it was the recent winter storm we had. And it was the challenges that we not only faced, but that we overcame. And again, that's people working to do what's best and what's right, and not just saying, okay, we can't make this work. He said, I absolutely love the family atmosphere, and it's the knowing and fulfilling the mission, and that's working with these kids. He said it's been an honor working for the county, and I can't tell you how much we appreciate the 25 years of service you've given us. Thank you. Next is Christy Smith with the tax office. There's Christy. Started out answering the phone, then moved to motor vehicles in Arlington, and then to property tax, and now manages in the refunds and the mineral accounts. She had a few choice words to say about the mineral accounts. Because you got to remember that when the mineral accounts got created, that basically created 1 million more accounts in Tarrant County. Because each one, there was different. There was a mineral account as well as a property account. And that created quite a challenge. Her memorable moments was that she got to be a part of some big projects. And I didn't realize this until she said this. Tarrant County was the first county in the country to have an internal lockbox where we worked those things. And that was, I believe, under Betsy. Betsy created that, and was the first one in the country to have that capability. When I asked her what she liked most, it was to be able to assist and explain how the system worked to taxpayers, because a lot of times we get calls in here about different things like that. And she said, I really feel like I've succeeded when I've had an opportunity to talk with someone, explain to them what happened and how it happened, and work them through that process. She said, I love all of the opportunities the county has offered to us. And one of the ones that she mentioned was the education. But there's a lot of things that the county offers to its employees. She said, I've always loved my job, and it's just been a great place to be. Christy, thank you for your 25 years of service to Tank County. Monique Thompson, legal specialist in the Criminal District Attorney's Office. The other half of that two-team duo that we talked about earlier started as in the domestic relations enforcement child support area, came actually from the AG's office. Then went to the DA's office in 2000 in the area of special crimes, which was basically you worked at the Crimes Against Children's unit in Hurst.
Yes.
And we had a chance to kind of connect because that facility opened up while I was commissioner, and we actually ended up building it right there on the property that Precinct 3 owned for the Subcourthouse. So that is a tremendous facility. That's a good facility, but the whole concept of Alliance for Children is one of my favorite things that we do, where it's a work between a cooperative between the DA, the Child Protective Services, the local police, and it's just a fantastic concept that is now seen in many, many areas across the country. Then she came into the Fort Worth area. She moved into supervising the mental health and protective orders. Then later, civil unit was added to that. She has offices in both the family law as well as the Justice Center now, I think. Again, her memorable moment was working with Alliance for Children. She said, I just absolutely love to serve our citizens and the teams that all work together like a family, because she, again, Alliance for Children is that, but you're now working with some of the different units that have been created in the DA's office to help intimate partner violence, domestic violence, crimes against the elderly, still crimes against the children, and the one I'm leaving are the special rape unit that has been created in the most recent couple of years. She said, I really enjoyed the 25 years, and she says, I look forward to whatever comes next. Thank you so much for your 25 years. Next is Sheila Wynn, Criminal Courts Magistrate. Sheila wasn't sure she was going to be able to make it, and it looks like she wasn't. So now we're going to move to our 30-year folks, and the first one is Debbie Brown, Jury Services. There's Debbie. Started in Jury Services, has been there ever since. Started off answering the phone, now backs up her boss, Paula, when things are going wild. Memorable moments, all the excuses. And you can just sit there, and maybe some of y'all have maybe even used some of those excuses. She said, I love the people I've had a chance to work with. Most people are always friendly. By the end of the experience, many people have changed their attitudes about serving on a jury and being a part of the process. She said time has gone by very quickly, and that was back when I spoke with her 10 years ago. And so now she's back here, and it's been, she has two grown kids. Both of them have a child that were born 14 days apart. So she's a grandmother of 2, a boy and a girl. She said work's been great. When I asked her what had occurred over the last 5 years, she said things have been pretty calm, but that she continues to just absolutely love her job and the people she's had a chance to work with. Debbie, thank you for your 30 years of service to Kendall. Next is Michelle Gatica, Sheriff's Confinement, 30 years. I guess she's not able to make it today. Next is Trudy Carley, IT, 30 years. There she is. Started out in the audit area in payroll, and then when we moved to SAP, she moved to HR, had been on the project team there. In 2000, moved to IT in April of 2012 for SAP, supporting payroll and HR, as well as other areas of our SAP as our main program with that. Most memorable moment, 2 computer conversions, that'll take care of it. And then when she first came to the county, she had to share a computer. And she and I both commented on the fact that Darren May, our security person, would just go crazy if he thought anybody was sharing a computer with somebody else in today's environment. What she liked most was being able to help employees, because again, IT's main customer are the employees of Tarrant County. She said all the people that I've had a chance to work with and the way they accept and work with one another. When I asked her, she said time had really gone by fast. Again, this was 10 years ago. She says, I hope to be here another 10 years. And you made it. Her daughter worked in transportation. And at that time, 5 years ago, she had a son going to Midwestern. Now, Jessica is the new business manager in Precinct 1, out on the Road and Bridge group. Her son is in pilot school. She said work continues to be more and more challenging. And at least she's beginning to think about maybe retiring. Trudy, thank you so much for the 30 years of service you've given at that time. Next is Pam Musgrove with Sheriff's Department, 30 years. There's Pam. Started out in the old Belknap jail, then went to warrants for about the last 18 years, and now the officer manager in warrants. She said, memorable moment, she said, I love warrants. I originally came there on loan and just fell in love with the place. She said, I absolutely love the people I've had a chance to work with, the ability to learn different things, and the opportunities that she's had in the different areas. She said, I absolutely love my job. She got promoted to supervisor now probably about 9 years ago, and has been traveling a lot. And that traveling, I think, was traveling around, not traveling a lot with the job. When I talked with her recently, never thought she'd be here this long. She's traveling less and working more because of COVID, and don't we all understand that? But Pam, we, again, can't tell you how much we appreciate your 30 years, and we hope you're here for the next 5-year anniversary with another judge. This one ain't going to be here. Thank you very much. Let's get Pam. Judge Phil Sorrells, County Criminal Court number 10, 30 years. Started with the DA's office.
When I was 12.
Yeah. In the misdemeanor area. And then in 4 years, he ran for judge. And so we have a special connection because we were running at the same time. I was running for commissioner, he was running for judge. And it was January, and it was a little chilly. He had his whole family come up. I mean, by the way, his father-in-law is Ken Hance. And so when we would be out at the sub-courthouse, most of the time his mother-in-law was the one that was at the northeast sub-courthouse, which is where I was. And we would...
That's the best person to get out to get to vote for.
Yeah,
because your mother-in-law, if she's for you, who could be?
And I will tell you, she actually said that when she was trying to get him a vote. But it was cold, and we'd sit inside, and when somebody drove up, we would say, okay, that looks like somebody that's coming to vote. Let's get out there. Because we had to get out beyond the 100-foot marker before they got inside of it. And it was cold. Again, have I mentioned that? And so she and I struck up a great conversation, great relationship. I've really always appreciated that time, and I've always remembered your mother-in-law and your father-in-law because we were out there, you know, pounding the pavement for votes at that same time. Memorable cases. At one point in time, he had a former Miss Texas as a victim for a robbery case. He said, I absolutely love the people that I've had a chance to work with in his court. He's, you know, he always runs one of the lowest dockets. He said, I'm just happy doing the job. He tries to maintain a low docket. He does. His docket is always one of the lowest.
The lowest.
The lowest, okay. And he said, I just love working for the county and what I have an opportunity to do. Judge, we appreciate very much the 30 years of service you've given to Tarrant County. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Sheila would have been here, but I got her working in my court while I'm over here. Keep working.
Okay, that explains it, because she said she was going to be here.
Yeah.
So, okay, we can blame it on you. Next, Judge Judith Wells, the 325th District Court, 30 years. She started out as an associate judge and was appointed by Judge O'Reilly. When Judge O'Reilly decided not to run, she said, I'm going to run for the office. Memorable moments, the shootings, moving into a new building, family law building. She said, what I like most is even though it is a big organization, it doesn't feel that way. Everybody's approachable. It's a big family. And she said, most important is that we have a chance to have an impact on people in their lives. And I think everybody, I said it in the beginning and I'm going to say it again, everybody in this room, from the jailer who's dealing with people who may or may not have been found guilty yet, to the people in the tax office, everybody shows respect to those people as they show respect back to them. And that's what it's all about. And I think that's what makes Tarrant County, is because we have tenured employees, that's what makes Tarrant County such a great place to be. She said, cases are getting harder. And she said, that's because mediation is working. And mediation is taking care of a lot of those cases that should never get to trial. And when they do get to trial, they're the ones that have a tendency to be the most complicated and much more. She said the county is a great place to work and to serve folks. And Judith, I know that that's the way you've approached it for the 30 years you've been with Tarrant County, and thank you. And there's two left, Ed Wiseman and then Maria Martinez, but neither one of them were able to make it down here today. Ed Wiseman, 30 years, so if you see him, congratulate him. He was in court, or is in court on a trial this morning. And then Maria Martinez, 35 years, and she also was not going to be able to make it down. She's in Judge McCoy's court as a court coordinator, and they're in court today. So a total of 965 years of service to Tarrant County. And again, when you have that kind of experience, you have people who know how to solve problems and they have the attitude that they're not going to simply say yes or no or don't bother me, but they're going to sit down with them and not only give them the answer, but tell them why that's the right answer at that time. There are refreshments in 504C, and Wilder hadn't left yet, although it looks like he's already eating on one of them.
I'm just eating bananas these days.
And please go back there and please let us tell you how much we appreciate everything that you've done for us in the 965 years of service. And I'll move that we receive and file the employee recognition.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Could we take 2 or 3 minutes?
Yes. Court members, you have before you the consent agenda.
Move approval of consent agenda.
We have a motion and a second, and that's with the one item poll that we stand heard. Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Manius?
Thank you. Members of the court, if we could now go to the briefing item. This will be our public health update. Mr. Snape is here to address the court at this time.
Good morning, Your Honor, members of the court.
Morning, Vinny.
Morning, Vinny.
Back with a public health briefing for you, and the news continues to improve. Certainly, we're continuing to see declines in our COVID numbers. We're at 363,000 cases, 4733 deaths. I think there's a typo in there. That's what threw me off. Is like, what? That didn't make sense. That's not that many cases. 363,000. There's an extra 3. Okay. And then 4,733. That's 3 new deaths to report this morning. Hospitalizations continue to downtrend in our area, of course, and the entire county and the trauma service area E. Statewide, the numbers are coming down. So that's great news for Texas and Tarrant County. Our hospitalizations are at 319 total people confirmed with COVID in the hospital. That's only 7.23% of the capacity. Quite a striking difference from where we were just a few weeks ago. So things are definitely improving, and the pediatric hospitalizations are down as well. We're about 1/4 or almost 1/5 of where we were at the peak. 7 kids in the hospital with confirmed COVID. And then the trauma service area E, quite a change. I mean, 977 people with COVID in the hospital. That's 6.24% of the capacity. So all in all, news is improving. We're not out of the woods, but we're heading absolutely in the right direction. So this is great news heading into the holiday season. Trends are obviously declining. On the left-hand side, you see the chart where the case numbers are declining. The epidemic curve is really starting to come down. And on the right-hand side, the death data is starting to decline as well. The only cautionary tale that remains is that we're still at a high level of community spread, and I'll explain that in the next chart here. We're heading in the right direction. We're at the cusp of changing from high to substantial spread. The 2 factors that determine that are the positivity rate. Currently, it's above 10%. And then the case rate is above 100 per 100,000. But we're literally at the cusp. I mean, if the data holds, I think at some point this week, we should be able to go below and move to substantial spread. So that's great news.
When we do that,
Yes, sir.
Vinny, do it with a fanfare.
I will hold that when we get to low spread, sir. Because there's still a lot of activity in our community. And again, I know the news is positive and people want to celebrate. My caution always is, let's celebrate when we really get it to where it's controlled.
And I believe in celebrating incrementally.
Yes, I hear you. Trust me, I'm with you there, absolutely. And then the COVID-like illness, that's where the real good news is. For a long time, I mean, it stayed up. People seeking ER care for COVID-like symptoms. It's declined to even below what influenza-like activity is doing. There's more people seeking ER care for influenza-like symptoms, and COVID-like illness is actually declining below that. And that's a good cross to see where things are coming down that hard on COVID. So that's all very positive news developing. Again, just a little cautionary tale. We just had Halloween. Now we're heading into the holidays. Let's not repeat last year. We got a lot of cases last year, and that's once bitten, twice shy kind of thing. I want to make sure people get the vaccine. They wear their masks if they're not vaccinated. All of those things that we know work. Let's do it. But again, what are we waiting for? Vaccines here. Let's get it. Enjoy our holidays. Get back to normal. Again, what should we do? Get vaccinated, wear a mask, avoid large crowds. I mean, those 3 things are the mantra for COVID. We're hoping that we can add another one. Take your oral pill when you get COVID. I mean, it's coming. I think there's Merck that has submitted some data, and there's another company, the name escapes me. They're a smaller pharmaceutical company, but they have a medicine that made its way through some clinical trials. So now there's potentially 2 candidates that are being reviewed, and hopefully by the end of this year, I'm really keeping my fingers crossed that we will have that final tool in the tool belt that will make life a lot easier, manageable at home. Vaccine update, numbers are improving. It's been a slow go, but definitely every week we're seeing improvements. 61% of the total or eligible population is vaccinated, and 50% of the total. So the numbers are definitely on the upward swing there. And all age categories are improving. Race and ethnic categories are definitely improving. Again, slow go in a lot of areas, but it's working. It's slow, but it works. And then booster doses, there's demand. We were kind of a little surprised that the Pfizer booster, when it came out, there was demand, but not at the level that we expected. But Moderna definitely is helping. I mean, it makes sense. A lot of the public, when vaccine came out, the general public came to public health and all these other public providers, and we mostly had Moderna in the beginning. So it makes sense that we saw a lot more demand for Moderna. So it's been every week, there's about 10 to 12,000, sometimes 15,000 people who are getting their booster doses done. So that's been great news all across the county. Another news developing, FDA did authorize the pediatric Pfizer vaccine for 5 to 11-year age group. But it's always confusing, right? Because there's a 4-step process. There's the FDA committee, then there's the FDA itself, then there's the ACIP, the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices, and the final say is with the CDC, because the vaccine program nationwide operates under the CDC. So those meetings are this week. We expect midweek approval. Vaccine has already shipped. My team received their first shipments for pre-positioning. So, things are on the up and up, and all across the county, the vaccine's getting pre-positioned. So once it comes out, my advice to parents, don't wait. Get your kids vaccinated. Those 5 to 11-year-olds have had no protection, especially when they're going to school. This is a good thing. Let's get that 2-dose series, and it's a 1/3 dose. It's a very light dose for the pediatric age groups. They're sending different needles and syringes that are not as big, so they're appropriate size for the little ones. So all of that is here, and it's working. There's going to be pharmacies that have it. There's going to be pediatrician offices that have it. There really should be no excuse. Let's get these kids vaccinated so we can get on with normal life.
Vinny, we talked last week, and when we were talking, it was before we knew what the allocation distribution was going to be on that.
Yes, sir.
We know now what was allocated at least. Is it for this week, or was it last week that was allocated? And much more of that, as you just indicated, went to the pharmacies and to the pediatrician clinics, things along that lines, than what went to what was in the past, the groups that were doing the mega centers.
Yes, sir.
So can you give me an idea as far as the numbers go? How much went, first off, how much came to this area, do we think?
Yes, sir.
And then how was it distributed?
So what's allocated to Tarrant County as a whole, it's in 2 buckets, one from DSHS, one from the federal government that goes directly to the pharmacies. Combined together, we're going to get about 60,000 doses over the next week or 2. What is unclear, they're sending it in waves, so it's not all going to arrive in one day. There's 3 waves that's supposed to arrive. Now, looking at the total target population, that's 204,000 kids in that 5 to 11-year-old age group. So to get 60,000 in the first go, I think that's a great number to start with for our county. Public entities like public health, we got our 3,000 dose allocation. That's fine, because we're not the only player. City of Fort Worth got some, the FQHC got some, JPS got some. Cook Children's got a bigger load because, of course, that's their population that they serve. So there's a variety of different players, pediatric offices, pharmacies. And the news about pharmacies is typically they do kids that are older, 8 to 10-year-old or older. This time around, they're geared up to do 5 and up. So that's great news because it improves access for our community. You don't have to go stand in line. You can do it after hours. Variety of options here.
So out of that 60,000, are you estimating that maybe 15 to 20,000 are coming to what historically had been the mega groups, public health, JPS,
yes, sir,
those types, and that 45 to maybe 40 to 45,000 are actually going to pharmacies
and pediatrician offices.
So we're switching from a distribution or vaccines being given by us or the schools or like that to it being given more by the pharmacies and by the doctors, pediatricians' offices?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So this was what the original plan was. If you recall, at the end of last year, we talked about it, that the federal government wanted to leverage the existing network of all these retail locations that were able to do vaccines. But because of short supply, they had to switch and do mass vaccinations. This time around, the need is not there because all these people are geared up. And what has changed is Pfizer, when it came in the beginning, required you to have those ultra-low, minus 80-degree freezers. Now that they have enough data, this vaccine that's coming, you can keep it in the regular vaccine refrigerator for up to 10 weeks. That's plenty of time to use up the doses. So that opened up a lot of these pharmacies, a lot of doctors' offices who never really had the space or money to buy those ultra-low freezers. So this is great news. We'll still keep ours in ultra-low because we've got it and thaw it when we need it. But other places, they can just stick it in the regular vaccine refrigerator and use it.
So for the folks, when we talked with the schools, what their hope was is for those parents who are going to get their kids vaccinated, the hope was to get the first vaccine before Thanksgiving so that the second vaccine could be received prior to Christmas break.
Yes, sir.
And that would allow, maybe the families to be able to celebrate Christmas in a more traditional, normal
Absolutely.
way.
Absolutely.
From that perspective, and would make that available to them.
Yes, sir. That's our hope. And again, my advice to parents and request to parents: do not wait.
The other thing, if we can, and we talked a little bit about this yesterday, but as soon as we know the pharmacies or the places that people can go, let's get it on our website. I still think that we may end up doing, schools may end up having on this date you can come and, bring your child in and be vaccinated. But let's get out there the names of the pharmacies who are offering those vaccines.
So we're pre-positioned to do that as soon as we get the final buy-off from CDC.
Okay.
We already have that ready to go.
Yes, sir. All right. So that's really it. And then just one quick slide on the testing operations. As you can imagine, the demand is down significantly at all our sites. So we're starting to look at a scale down of the actual testing days and sites. Currently still, there's 5 vendor-hosted locations and 2 days that Public Health's covering at the Northwest Subcourthouse. So we have 7-day coverage. But because the numbers are down so much, over the next week or two, we're going to start to scale down sites that didn't bring enough volume. We're going to remove those. And then Public Health is looking at switching from like a mobile testing to our in the clinic testing model. So far we've done it, at mobile locations in a parking lot and not had the setup where people could come to our clinics. But we're starting to try that out. I think next week is probably going to be first one of our clinics that goes live like that. And over the next 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to try to make all our brick and mortar clinics, I think there's 5 or 6 locations that can handle that testing in clinic. So then we will get rid of that mobile unit that's out there in a parking lot and people can just come. There will be a phone number they can call and we'll come out and get the test done. So it will be easy. And that will then stay. Even though testing volume may ebb and flow, we will have that there for the foreseeable future.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's all I have, unless there's any questions about any of these vaccine or testing updates.
Any questions?
Just anything more on the flu and what the flu is looking like.
So flu vaccine is here. It's being given. There were a couple of confused, questions about, like, I went to this pharmacy and I didn't get it. It got resolved by people going too early or not, having all the right locations. But those locations are posted on the website. There's, I believe, 61. We're still waiting on Walgreens to get through their paperwork. Seems like it's hung in their legal department. That's the only pharmacy that we're still hoping, because they said they were very interested. We just haven't gotten the paperwork.
So if they go to one of those 61 pharmacies that we put on the website,
yes, sir,
they can basically get the flu shot, and if they do not have any insurance, then it'll be free.
It will be free, yes, sir. And it got off to a good start. I think Albertsons had a partnership with Mercy Clinic of Fort Worth. They did a flu shot day, First day, they gave 200 doses. So that was, I was excited. That's good news for all of us. People are participating in the program.
Your Honor, just to add on to what you're saying, even if you have insurance, there's still no copay.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Vinnie.
So, members of the court, we can now go to the administrator section, and we're going to go to item A1. Ms. Camerano is going to present that item.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners.
Good morning, Christy.
So this week, you've received the Tarrant County COVID-19 recovery report. I just want to draw your attention to page 3. I have updated the information included in the rental assistance report to include the type of assistance being provided, a breakdown of rental and utility assistance, also an explanation of the ineligible applications. So there's a breakdown of the reasons for ineligibility. And then also information about county-wide assistance, so from both the Fort Worth and Arlington programs as well as the state's program. I will talk a little bit more about that after this item. But if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them. If not, I'll ask that you receive and file this report.
Move to receive and file.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, and then I just want to talk briefly about the Emergency Rental Assistance Program and address some questions that were brought up in court last week. This first slide, all of the information here is included and will continue to be included in our weekly report, but it breaks down the rent and utility portions of assistance as well as the application status and, again, reasons for ineligible applications. You'll see that withdrawn is 13. Denied area means that they are residents of Fort Worth or Arlington, and we have referred them over to those programs. Denied income, this was a topic of discussion last week. 59 have been denied because their income exceeds the 80% AMI established by Treasury. We are in discussion, staff is talking about how we might utilize FRF under our housing stability goal to address this population. TRR withdrawn, that means that those applicants are being served by the state's program, and per the duplication prevention guidelines established by Treasury, we cannot serve them at the same time.
I would like to encourage you to look at these denied populations and try to apply other county dollars to those families, because our goal is to prevent homelessness, not to necessarily comply with every jot and tittle of some regulation.
Understood.
Our community goal is to prevent homelessness.
Understood.
So let me follow up a little bit on that. On the denied area, that's Fort Worth and Arlington.
Mm-hmm.
How do we pass those off to Fort Worth and Arlington?
We do.
Or do we simply say to the people, you need to apply at Fort Worth and Arlington?
Some of both. So we are in constant communication with both of those programs, and so a lot of times there can be information sharing. They do require the application be completed for their program because the applications are not identical. They're similar. But we're there to, assist in that process.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Commissioner Brooks, one of the way we want to look at addressing the particular issue of those as far as denied income, we do believe that, and as Kristen said, the reason they were denied is because their income is a little bit higher than Treasury requirements as relates to that particular pot of money. I believe that we'll be able to help those that have been denied when we move them over to an ARPA-funded type program through our FRF program. So that's the direction that staff is currently going in.
Yeah, but in doing that, there is a time consideration. It all has to happen quickly enough to get out ahead of the eviction process.
Absolutely. And that's what we're very sensitive to that.
And the next slide provides a little bit more detail about this states, did you have a question? I'm sorry.
No,
Okay.
go ahead.
About the state's program and the amount of assistance that they have provided throughout Tarrant County. I know that there were some questions about this assistance. I have reached out to the state and verified all of these numbers. They do provide us with information on a weekly basis about the amount of assistance provided. And they have assisted Collin, Denton, Dallas counties with similar amounts. Dallas County, as of today, their residents have received over $170 million from the state program. I know that when the state started their program, there were a lot of concerns about its efficacy and ability to handle the number of applicants. They now have over 1,000 staff working on their program.
So, again, this, I think, caught us all off guard a little bit. So what you're telling me is that the state has spent $44 million within the Tarrant County area, excluding Fort Worth and Arlington, and that they have helped 11,000 households. Now, how would the money have gotten?
700. Well, yes, sir. I'm sorry. Yes, that's correct.
So how would the money? If that means that those 11,000 didn't apply through us, they applied and got assistance from the state. How would that have happened?
So there are a couple of ways. The state launched their program 1 month before we did, and the other local areas we all launched in March. They launched February 1st of 2021. Additionally, through the Office of Court Administration, as mandated by the Texas Supreme Court, they instructed JP judges to refer eviction cases to the state program.
There's the way right there. Because I couldn't figure out how we were doing it, because I would have thought that the JPs would have been referring to you, but what you're saying is the state instructed them, as they were hearing eviction cases, to apply through the state as opposed to applying through the county.
That's correct. And that is not the case any longer. However, that big rush happened during those 6 months and our JPs are starting to refer more to us because they realize we can serve them more quickly.
I just couldn't figure out how the people were getting to the state without going through us, and the JPs are because they're the ones that hear in the eviction cases.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
So now that makes sense to me.
Okay.
Very good.
And the last slide, I just want to briefly mention a few policy recommendations. These are directly tied to the guidelines by Treasury that were released on August 25th, as well as a letter that we've received from Treasury urging local governments to adopt these tenets in our policy. I'm not asking for policy adoption today, but I will be bringing that next week. So I'll just very quickly read through those and answer any questions you have. They have changed the requirement for hardship to be during the pandemic and not necessarily because of the pandemic. A lot of programs were having trouble documenting that relationship or that causal relationship, and so they're trying to make it easier for people to get assistance. This is one of the ways. The next three bullets are all, say, self-attest. So essentially, on each of the qualifying criteria that Treasury has established, we will add the ability to self-attest should they not be able to provide documentation. That is in the form of a form that they sign and upload to the application. And then the last one is that landlord must agree not to evict the tenant during the period of assistance or for 30 days after. That 30 days is very key, because after they've received their initial payment, we send them a form to fill out for additional funding request. So we need that time to process that request, and we don't want them to be evicted during those 30 days. So essentially, they're in our program. They're being served by our program, and there really shouldn't be any reason for non-payment related reasons to evict during that time.
Well, and then Kristen, in keeping with past recommendations, I'm assuming, well, I don't want to assume that all of this has been discussed with the auditor's office and she's fine with it. Okay.
Yes.
Great.
So if there are no questions about this, then I am finished, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
So members of the court, if we could simply go to, we're going to take item 2 real quickly. This is once again the request by the Commissioners Court to list on the agenda any items that may be funded through the FRF program. We do not have anything on the agenda today that we're bringing forward for your approval. So we ask that you receive and file this court communication.
Move to receive and file.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson? Whoops. Commissioner Johnson? Okay, motion passes 4-0-1.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the Court, we can now move to item number 4. And we're going to ask that the Commissioners Court approve the appointment of Dr. Kendall Crowns as the Chief Medical Examiner for Tarrant County in accordance to Article 49.25, Section 2 of the Code of Criminal Procedure.
Move approval
Second.
with great pleasure.
We have a motion and a second. Before I introduce you, I'll make sure you're going to be it. Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
There he is. Motion passes unanimously, and at this time, I'd like to introduce our new medical examiner, Dr. Kendall Crowns, and his wife, Beth. Is it?
Beth.
Beth. Thank you, and welcome to Tarrant County. He's coming to us from the land of the crazies. It's Austin. And but we're very glad to have you on board with us, and it'll be a fun ride, I guarantee you. Thank you.
Dr. Crown, would you like to come up to the podium and make a statement? By the way, this is effective December 6th.
December the 6th.
Yes, of this year.
Well, it's that day before Pearl Harbor.
A day which will live in infamy.
Yeah.
Hopefully my appointment won't be the same, met with the same feelings. I just want to say briefly, I want to thank Judge Whitley, Commissioners Court, GK, all the people that had a hand in giving me this job. I greatly appreciate it. I'm very happy with this opportunity. I also want to thank my wife, Beth, for having been by my side my whole life. Not my whole life, but pretty much. It feels like my whole life. She's been there, my rock, she has supported me, she has encouraged me, she is why I'm here today. And then I want to just say I look forward to serving the people of Tarrant County and diligently working for them. So again, I am greatly honored by this opportunity, and I thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just to comment on that, I want to thank Chandler Merritt out of our office. He ran point on this process, and he did an excellent job. Thank you, Chandler.
Agreed.
Now we're going to go to item number 6. This is the letter of concurrence regarding a federal trade zone or foreign trade zone designation for ITT. Ms. South is here to address the court at this time.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Megan.
Morning, Megan.
Oh, sorry, Lonnie. So as you all know, TTI Incorporated is a leading electric component distributor that has been doing business in Fort Worth and Tarrant County for 50 years, this year actually. And in May of 2012, the Commissioners Court approved a request by TTI to be added to the Alliance Corridor Foreign Trade Zone for two of its existing facilities located, which are located in Fort Worth at the Northeast Parkway and Sylvania Cross Drive. As part of that approval and to balance out loss of revenue, TTI entered into a payment in lieu of taxes or a pilot agreement with the county, committing to add investment of at least $20 million in new real and personal property and at least employment of 853 jobs at the combined locations by the end of 2016. That agreement was fulfilled in 2015 with the addition of a 600,000 square foot facility located at the northwest corner of Beach Street and Meacham Boulevard. So since 2015, TTI has continued to expand, and they currently have over 2,000 employees in Fort Worth alone. And so due to this growth, TTI has asked us for an additional foreign trade zone designation for a 37,300 square foot facility located at 5050 Mark IV Parkway. Let me pull that up on here so you can see. And this location will provide up to 40 new jobs by the end of this year, with the potential for more growth as expansion happens. And then the initial $16.4 million of inventory to be located at this new site is being transferred over from an existing TTI facility to free up space. However, an estimated $16 million in inventory is expected to be moved over from another facility located in California in the future. So there is no substantial fiscal impact expected from this designation of the new location as an FTZ, since any inventory moving over currently is already exempt. However, the county and hospital district will receive ad valorem taxes on all real and non-inventory business personal property located at the site. Jim Irvin back here is with TTI, and he's here to answer any additional questions. Otherwise, we would ask that the Commissioners Court approve the letter of concurrence to the Foreign Trade Zone Board for the designation of this property.
Still a Berkshire company? Move approval. Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Members of the court, we can now go to item number 3 on the administrator's section. We're requesting that the Commissioners Court approve an order finding that the existing commissioner precincts are sufficiently population-based and declining to redistrict Hearn County's commissioner precincts. This is an order that you all had asked us to prepare last week, and we have that order in your packet for action. I will say that late Friday afternoon, we received a different map, and we have that, and I believe we have some audience participation forms that want to speak on that map, and also this particular map that we're requesting approval upon. We do have that available that we can put up. It's in a PDF form. We can put it up on the screen, up on the screen, as if the court so desires.
Judge, I move approval of the order finding that the existing commissioner precincts are sufficiently population balanced and determining not to redistrict Tarrant County's commissioners' precincts. And I will reserve my comments on the alleged new map until the audience participation requests have been heard.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. So as Mr. Manius indicated, we have another map, as well as several folks who have asked to speak on this particular issue. And we've got a couple of people who have indicated that they wish to comment by phone. And so what I'm gonna do, I guess the first thing is I want the new map at least shown on there, and we'll have the ability to go back and forth should that be requested.
Is there an explanation that goes with the new map?
Is there what?
An explanation that goes with it, and some details of what it's covering and what it's doing,
and I don't know, I mean, like I said, we've got a number of people who've asked to speak to this. Certainly, if there's one that in particular that wants to comment and explain the theory behind that, then I would certainly welcome and be glad to put them up first. Otherwise, I've got Bill Zedler, Representative Zedler, is here, and out of respect for his history in his past as far as elected officials. I was going to call on him first. So, Bill, if you're going to try to offer up the explanation, then that's fine. But if there was somebody else that was going to do that, were you going to be the one doing that?
Yes, I'll be part of it, but I think there were some other people here to discuss some explanations as well.
Okay.
So I'd just be part of it.
Well, then we'll call on Representative Zedler first. And do we have the...
Yes.
Go ahead, sir.
Judge Whitley, Commissioners, great to be here with y'all today. I did want to present this map, and I have these maps right here. This map follows the federal law by creating 4 districts with uniform populations. All districts are within 1% of the ideal district size. It does not pack communities into overpopulated districts, nor does it crack communities of interest apart. It unites communities that were previously split, like Mansfield, ETJ, and Rendon. It unites communities of interest. Now, fast-growing cities south of I-20 will be represented by 1 commissioner, and communities of interest in central Tarrant County will be united. The map provides for majority-minority districts in precincts 1 and 4 and a very competitive minority representation in precinct 2. The map accounts for growth of minority communities and attempts to include them with common districts. In more than 70% of the county, the districts remain the same, creating continuity for communities and voters. And this map looks a lot like a similarity to, or has striking similarities to, the district that I represented for 16 years, and that was District 96. And it went unchallenged in all the redistricting fights. It went unchallenged. So I believe that it is a good map, and I believe there's some other people that are here as well that will present other issues that I think are important in this issue. Thank you very much, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Bill. I'm going to call the 2 individuals who've asked to address this by phone, and then I'll move back into the in-person comments. First will be Kathleen Cipriano.
Don't leave their home.
I think you're right. So we'll cancel that. We'll try to call her back a little bit later. Next is Jason Smith.
talking, but
Maybe he's talking, I doubt it. We'll try him back again a little bit later. So next I have Mike Brewster. New, Mr. Brewster?
Yes,
Yeah, you're on a different matter. I apologize for that. Well,
you want me to wait? It's probably better.
how much time do you have?
It'll probably take a couple of minutes.
Why don't you just go ahead? No, I can't do that. I'll catch you in a little bit. I apologize if I had realized that you were, sorry about that. Next is Lee Wamsgas. Good morning.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners.
Good morning.
On this beautiful rainy day today, I just want to speak in support of the new map. It follows the federal law by creating those 4 precincts with uniform population, and all of these districts are within 1% of the ideal district size. It doesn't pack communities into overpopulated districts or divide communities of interests. It just makes no sense to not redistrict. We've had tremendous growth in the last decade, and redistricting and this map makes a lot of common sense. And in more than 70% of the county, the districts don't change. And this map creates continuity for communities and for voters, and that continuity is really important to me. So I just want to speak in support of the new map, in support of redistricting. We've had tremendous growth, and I just want to say God bless you all for your time. God bless Texas, and God bless Tarrant County. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have, the one thing that I don't see or didn't see, do we have the various locations of subcourthouses? And because this is a little bit of a change.
So
can we show that up on the?
we don't have the ability to show that up on the screen. Maybe we can try to work on that. We just got this right before court.
So that's what this is here?
Yes, sir. What we did was
That show the courthouses.
Up there, you have this sheet right here. This is what we did. We imposed on this map that we're talking about now the locations of the residences of each of the court members, also their maintenance facilities. And just to point out that the map that is on the screen now is one that removes Commissioner Brooks from that district in totality as far as his residence, also his maintenance facility.
Okay, so if we can, I would like to be able to see if we can find a way to get it up on.
So one other thing, as you all know, we passed various rules that we would consider as we went through redistricting, and one of those tenets were that we would not redistrict so that one of the members of the court, their residence, would be outside their existing district.
Are the sub-courthouses within the same precincts that they were?
They are.
They are? Devin, both of yours are in there also?
That's correct.
It appears so.
Okay. Next is Michael Sabat. There you go.
John, I think that we can get that up in just a second.
Morning.
Good morning. Go ahead.
Good morning. Good morning, Judge Whitley. Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for having me. My name is Michael Sabat. I live in Grand Prairie, Precinct 2, Ms. Allen's district. I came out here in support of the new map presented by Mr. Bill Zedler. I support the new map because it accounts for the growth in the minority communities and attempts to include them in the common districts. In the last 10 years, the minority communities have grown in Tarrant County, and this takes into account the expansion and keeps the communities of interest together. Still, the minority communities in Precinct 2 and Precinct 4 remain highly competitive for the representation. Arlington and Grand Prairie will now have 2 commissioners representing them in their interests instead of just 1. And in my opinion, this map is fair, and this will work for everyone as a balance. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Stuart Gillespie.
Good morning. Thank you, Judge Whitley and Commissioners, for the time. I put everything on notes here, just very short. I grew up in Johnson County, so you got to excuse me. But anyway, I live in Tarrant, of course, right now. So I'm Stuart Gillespie, and I reside at 331 Southwest Brushy Mound Road in Burleson. And I served as a city councilman for 22 years for the city of Burleson. And I do support the map that's proposed and represented by Representative Bill Zedler. And during my years serving on the Burleson Council, I have never once met my current commissioner. And I feel strongly that my family and community have been neglected, and we have no voice on the Tarrant County Commissioners Court. The proposed map will give the greater Burleson region, including the Crowley and Benbrook area, the representation that we deserve and need. Additionally, the map aligns with the new congressional, senatorial, and House district maps, which have been signed by the governor. The proposed districts accurately reflects the diversity of our county, allowing for good representation of the citizens living in them. They will protect the integrity of the district as well as the entire community of interest. And I urge you to adopt this map. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Rebecca Warwick.
You ready? Sorry. Good morning, Judge Whitley and County Commissioners. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak before you today. I live in Mansfield, so in Precinct 2. I do support this new map proposed by former Representative Bill Zedler. It unites communities that were previously split, like Mansfield and others, and especially as the southern half of the county, especially under I-20, is actually seeing a lot of population growth, and even our city councils are discussing the enormous growth that we're going to see over the next decade. I think it's very important to have those communities unified under a single commissioner, to better work with our city councilors and other entities to make sure that we are represented fairly over the next few years as we see this population growth. And as the person before me said, this does coincide or line up with the new map signed by the governor, which will make it easier, I think, for all voters to know who their representatives are, their senators are, and then again for all those officials to work together for the betterment of our communities and for our county. Again, I do support the new map proposed before us today. Thank you.
Craig Owenby.
Judge, if I can wait and come after some of the others.
Okay. Jenny Story.
And Your Honor, we have that document up now.
Okay, so Commissioner Brooks, you're that red dot, I guess, that says Commissioner, right there. Okay, Commissioner Precinct 1. So you're outside of your district. Is there a maintenance facility in Precinct 1?
There is under the existing plan. There is not under this plan.
Okay. Commissioner Allen, you are in.
This plan puts both maintenance facilities, the current Precinct 1 maintenance facility and the current Precinct 2 maintenance facility in Precinct 2.
Okay.
Without being able to expand this map to see if my residence is actually still in Precinct 2. So it appears so on the map, but I can't say for certain.
Okay. There you go. It's expanding a little bit.
GIS wise.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a close call.
Ms. Story, go ahead.
Thank you.
Morning.
Thank you. I support the new map because this new map unites communities of interest. With the new map, the now fast-growing city south of I-20 will be represented by one commissioner, and communities of interest in central Tarrant County will be united. This unification of communities of interest will allow the commissioner to focus on and give specific attention to similar needs within the communities. Overall, for Tarrant County, the map provides for majority-minority districts in Precinct 1 and 4. The new map is representative of the geographic diversity within Tarrant County, and a similar configuration was used in the new congressional, senatorial, House district maps recently signed by the governor. Please adopt this map. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeffrey Mitchell.
Good afternoon, Judge, Commissioners.
Morning.
My name is Jeffrey R. Mitchell, PhD. I reside at 300 Flushing Quail Drive, Arlington, Texas, 76002. It is with great gratitude I address this body as I state my support for this map proposed by former State Representative Bill Zettler. I support this proposed map for the following reasons. The proposed map unites our communities and interests that were previously split. It does not pack communities into overpopulated districts, nor does it crack communities in interests of support apart. It accounts for the growth of minority communities, and it attempts to include them in common districts. This map that was designed by Representative Zettler follows all the federal laws and it aligns mostly perfectly with our congressional districts as well as our senatorial House districts that were approved by the state legislature as well as our governor. It is a pivotal time in our great republic where our American and Texas political system is being maligned and underrepresented through political chicanery. This proposed map is a step to rebuilding confidence for our current and future voters. Thank you, County Judge. Thank you, Commissioners, for your attention to this important map, support for this map.
Thank you.
Charles Crook, Mansfield.
Good afternoon, I think I'm going to say. I was going to say good morning, but now it's afternoon. Judge Whitley and Commissioners, my name is Charles Crook. I live at 7716 Gibson Cemetery Road. It's in Mansfield, but I'm actually out near Rendon. The Rendon Fire Department comes out if we have any problems. I hope I never see them for that reason, but they basically serve our community. We live out in that area. We live up and down 1187. We do a lot of our shopping there. We do a lot of business there. A lot of the communities that they're speaking of, Burleson and those communities in Rendon, I believe would be better served by the Precinct 2 representation. I agree for all the things that I've already heard. This is a better map, and I fully support that, but I want to just quickly give a couple of examples. We were in a struggle with TRWD, Tarrant Water District, about this huge water pipe that was coming through our community, and we had great representation from Andy Wynn, who was the commissioner at that time. He came out and helped us facilitate meetings to try to help move that pipeline. It was cutting diagonally through a bunch of people's properties, and they were an active part of all of that. I don't think one time we ever heard anything from Precinct 1 during that entire thing. We solicited the help of everybody we could. I don't believe we ever got that. And I think that Precinct 2, if they were given the ability to extend their services to the west into those communities, it would be a benefit to them. I have some examples. I'd like to just leave these with the court, if I could, of things that I see out in that area now that don't make me think that it's being represented the same way that Devin Allen and Andy Wynn have done in the past. Another one would be that we had the TCEQ was allowing a concrete batch plant to be built in the middle of our residential neighborhood. And we fought for 3.5 years against that. And we had Devin Allen, we had Andy Wynn, we had the people from Precinct 2 helping us every step of the way. I don't believe we ever got any representation from Precinct 1 at that time. It was a community-wide effort trying to get everybody involved, but we did get great representation from Precinct 2, and I think it would be a blessing to those people to have that extended out to the west. Thank you for your time.
Jesse Taylor.
Jesse Taylor, Precinct Chair, District 1297. Pleased to be here today, Judge Whitley, Commissioners. Change. This map that we're presenting right here, no one really likes change. I've worked on several campaigns, knocked on many doors, and sometimes I'm in my neighborhood and I knock on some of my doors, and the faces that I see is not the same faces that we would think we would see in our normal. So we definitely have change upon us right now. The map, I'm for the map. The only part that, matter of fact, me and Bill Zeller spoke about it outside was the issue with Roy Brooks, and I think that needs to be worked out. But other than that, I'm all for the map. That's it.
Daniel Fernandez. Dan Fernandez.
Judge, Dan had to leave. He left a written statement with the office. I've got a copy if you'd like.
I have it. My name is Dan Fernandez. I reside at 2823 Quail Lane. I currently live in Commissioner Precinct 2 and have for 30 years. I support the proposed map because more than 70% of the county, because more than 70% of the county, the precincts remain the same, creating continuity for communities and voters. For the vast majority of the county, the districts are unchanged with this map, so we are not talking about large changes over the whole county, but about keeping communities of common interest together. Also, the 4 precincts have uniform populations within 1% of the ideal district size. I particularly feel strongly about this proposed map giving everyone fair and balanced representation on the Commissioners Court, and I urge you to adopt this proposed map. Next is Dale Huff.
Thank you, Judge and Commissioners. My name's Dale Huff. I reside at 8720 Shelby Oaks Court, which is south of I-20, right off Rendon Road. I've lived in that area for 20 years. I also pastor a church on Rendon Road, and I have a small business on Rendon Road. So I know a lot of folks out there, a lot of constituents through my church and other organizations, and a lot of small business people. I agree with the map. I'd love to see that happen. That kind of little, what I call a beltway down 1187 that includes Mansfield on the east and on down to the Rendon area and across Burleson and Crowley and on out in that direction to Benbrook. All of us in that end we're kind of like-minded, I think, in a lot of ways. Our conservative values and things that we are concerned with for our community. Of course, we all know that area is blowing up, people-wise. And living there 20 years, I'm very aware of the traffic and the roads and the situation that's only going to get worse in years to come because more people are moving to that area. And as more people move that area, new challenges arises and all those things. In the 20 years that I've lived there, I've never been contacted by mail, by phone, or any other way to get me involved in the things that are going on in our precinct. None of my neighbors that I know of that I've talked to have ever been accosted about getting involved in that. So it's almost like we've been left out in a way. And as the area grows more and more, there's going to be more challenges that need to be addressed. And I think if we had additional representation from that area, and so that we can kind of, as the map goes right here, develop that area that we've all lived in for a long time, and they're experiencing a lot of changes now because of the influx of new people. I think that this will be a great thing to do with this map and the challenges to come. So I'm for it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Huff.
Thank you.
Julie Short. Councilwoman, appreciate you being here today.
Thank you so much for letting me speak. Thank you guys for all that you do. I know it's not an easy job, so I appreciate all that you do and that you really do care about the citizens of Tarrant County. So I am Julie Short. I live at 304 West Kimball in Mansfield, Texas. And I just do want to start off by reminding you guys that our mayor did not want the state to divide our city, so we are asking you the same here. I am in support of the map presented by former Representative Bill Zedler, and I think it's a logical and common sense approach to the area. It most resembles the map that includes House District 96, which was recently approved by the state legislature. And as everyone else has said before, it combines similar communities, and I feel like they would get better representation than what they're receiving now. So please consider the map. I'm in full support of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service. Chaplain Rich Stockman.
Good afternoon, Judge, County Commissioners. My name is Chaplain Rich Stoglin. My address is 1901 Wareham Court, Arlington, Texas. I'm here to express my support of the map proposed by the Honorable Bill Zedler, former state Texas representative. And I support the proposed map for the following reasons. The proposed map follows all the federal laws, and it aligns almost perfectly with the congressional, senatorial, and House districts that were recently approved by the state legislature and signed by the governor of the great state of Texas. I further support the proposed map by former Texas State Representative, the Honorable Bill Zedler, for these reasons. We need clear-minded, forward-thinking leadership that provides consistent accountability, thereby building strong, constructive communities for all its citizens. The proposed map will substantially demonstrate an opportunity for its citizens to embrace a respectful decorum of this commission's court, so it can accomplish the mandates and paramount matters impacting taxpayers who deserve the best representation in the most respectful decorum manner of this commissioner's court. Indeed, I urge you to remember these words for such a time as this. Texas, oh Texas, your freedom single star sends out its radiance to nations near and far. Emblem of freedom, it sets our hearts aglow with thoughts of San Jacinto and glorious Alamo. In conclusion, the great American icon, Frederick Douglass, eloquence fits with today's proposed map when he stated, quote, "Liberty is meaningless where the right to utter one's thoughts and opinions has ceased to exist," end of quote. Commissioners Court of Tarrant County on 2 November 2021, 8 days before the 246th Marine Corps birthday. Hear us today and let our voices on this imperative matter be heard. Thank you, County Judge and Commissioners, for your attention and support of this new map. Semper Fi.
Thank you.
Craig Owenby.
Judge, Commissioners. Craig Owenby, 7106 Lighthouse Road, Arlington, Texas. Supporting this particular map and understanding, Judge, that this is a rendering that needs to have a couple of modifications done to it. One would be to split one of the precincts and make sure the maintenance garage that is Roy Brooks's stays in Roy Brooks's district. That splitting the top of that one precinct would actually take care of that. Making sure that your residences are both in your appropriate districts also. In whatever form we need that with when we transfer this over to Bickerstaff for them to finish the final version for y'all. We've provided the data from our person that was involved in drawing this to the administrator's office here, so they have that. Bottom line, the things that have already been stated, this doesn't frack, it doesn't break apart any communities of interest, but what it does do is put together communities of interest in an area in this county that, at this point, we feel like matches better with as it's drawn in this new map. I'm happy to answer any additional questions before I step away, but I'm here to move in support of this map.
Thank you, Craig.
Thank you.
I've got I have several folks who filed online, said they did not wish to speak. The deadline for that was yesterday at noon. And what we did, and the reason we have that deadline, is so that those comments can be taken and posted online along with the agenda items. So we're not going to reread what has been posted along with that, but I will mention that those individuals were Brenda Hayes, Lisa Criswell, Rodney Criswell, Douglas Smith, Tamara Smith, Gary Hood, Ricky Rodriguez, Eva Hood, Greg Gerard, Esther Spickler, Susan Valiant, Ashley McCurry, Clarence Drennan, Nanette Monte, Becky Hubbard, Eric Morris, Joe Jordan, Jack Pearson, Francis Charling, Shonda Perkins, Kitty Berger, Jessica Cheek, Tama Gunn, Jennifer Dyer. And I will attempt one more time to reach the folks on the phone. Now I'm trying Kathleen, maybe. Kathleen's comments, at least on the bottom of her sheet, said the new map represents updated population growth and fairly represents precinct 2. The map follows federal law by creating 4 precincts with uniform population. The new map does not gerrymander or pack communities into overpopulated districts. The new map does not divide communities with common interests like the old map. The new map better represents precinct 2. The new map leaves more than 70% of the county's districts the same, creating continuity for community and voters. And the new map united communities with similar interests. That was Kathleen. Jason's comments were the existing map does not properly represent the interests of Precinct 2. The new map offered for approval accounts for updated population growth and fairly represents Precinct 2, creating 4 precincts with uniform population, follows the federal law, and does not create carve-outs with overpopulated precincts. That is all, I believe, of the comments that I have had or that have been submitted for people who wish to speak to this matter.
Members of the court, if I might just add that as we followed the directions of the Commissioners Court in going and doing drawing sessions and also public input sessions, we did have 2 drawing sessions, one on October 12th, the other one was last Tuesday on October 26th. We had public input sessions on October 14th, October 18th, 19th, October 20th, and 21. As you see in your court communication, there were comments that were made at some of those public input sessions. I believe that every one of those were in favor of the existing map.
Mr. Heath, have you had I know you've looked, I think you've looked at the proposed, the new proposal. I know we've heard a number of folks comment about it, but have you had a chance to look at it, and do you feel like it? What are your thoughts about that, I guess?
Yes, Your Honor, and excuse me. We got a copy of it yesterday and have not had a chance to review it totally, but we have a very good idea about it. As individuals said, it is in population balance. Actually, it's a little more in balance than the current plan, but just by a tiny amount, de minimis difference. It appears to be based on existing voting precincts, although that's just an eyeball look at the small map. Excuse me. The major things in regard to the criteria and the guidelines, number one, in the guidelines, we indicate, and I think we talked about this last week when we heard there might be a map coming in, we asked that any map be submitted before the public hearings. And this, of course, came after the public hearings, 6 public hearings, 2 drawing sessions. And I said, you know, that doesn't follow the guidelines, but it's up to the commissioners as to whether they want to consider, and obviously you have and have heard comments about it. It does, I think, on the criteria, certainly one of those is to base the map on the existing districts. I think in regard certainly to Districts 1 and District 2, it makes very significant differences between those districts. One of the criteria is not to pair existing council or commissioners. Here it does by putting both Precinct 1, Precinct 2 commissioner in the same commissioner's precinct. It does the same with the precinct maintenance facilities, both in Precinct 2 and none in Precinct 1. It moves a substantial minority population out of District 2 and into District 1. And of course, as I mentioned, pairs the 2 minority commissioners. I don't want to get into, in public session, the details of any legal analysis about litigation risk, but there are at least questions under the Voting Rights Act, and I'm happy to talk with you about that, although we may want to do that in executive session.
Any other questions of Mr. Heath?
I've got no questions of Mr. Heath. I got a bunch of comments.
Okay.
I would like to make sure, and this may not be a question for Bob, but just to make sure that I understand who actually submitted this map. Who submitted?
I beg your pardon, I didn't.
So I want to make sure that I understand, and this question may not be for you, it may be for the county administrator's office, of who actually submitted this map.
So we received this map after 5 o'clock on Friday, and it was dropped off by a person that we had to actually go outside because the doors were locked to pick that up. We were made aware that a new map would be coming, and it was Andy Wynn who identified himself as the person who was going to submit that map.
Okay, and then who actually drew the map? I want to make sure I understand that too.
I do not know who drew that map, unless one of the people in the audience can talk toward that, who was presented to us.
The gentleman's name.
Come on forward, Craig.
You'll need to come forward.
Come on. And by the way, clarification on one point. A version of this map was actually given to two members of the court prior to the last hearing.
We were not aware of that.
I understand, but it was in fact done. Okay. 1 second. Mark Seal, who is Mark Seal, and Mark Seal does this as a profession. He's Austin-based.
Thank you.
And I'll state that I did receive a copy at the prior meeting. It was my understanding that you were going to come in and that you were going to submit this. You did not, and therefore it did not get entered into the record.
We just mainly wanted to make sure one was delivered. Yes, sir.
You came in, gave me a map at the same time you did the judge. 3 minutes before the meeting started at 2 o'clock last Tuesday. I don't even know if we had equipment to look at your map. I told you
at the time. Yes, sir.
Review it. It's not the same map.
The map was modified slightly, but the map that you have is
doesn't look the same.
Well, you had two different maps that I gave you at different times. But anyway, Mark Seal is the gentleman who actually drew the map, and and he does this, as I say, for professional side. He was referral to us for that purpose.
So if I can ask a question, a map was delivered to our office Friday. The map that you asked us to hand out today, were there any changes on that map?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I don't think there were, because over the weekend I was gone, and I didn't see any new changes. I believe what changes we did get done were done prior to my leaving, which was Friday morning.
But the reason I asked is because the map that we displayed was the map that we received on Friday.
Yeah, and I believe that the map that you've got up at the moment is that same version, which is correct. And as I stated earlier, we basically understood that, yeah, in order to get to the western portion of this, that we had to take a particular precinct that had the commissioner's garage in it, and that in fact what we would propose would be splitting that precinct, which is not an uncommon thing to happen. And obviously we want to make sure Mr. Brooks we didn't have your residence address, so we want to make sure that that's in your district, or wherever your district is.
Any other questions?
I don't have any other. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Craig. Commissioner Brooks?
Thank you, Your Honor. A lot has been made today of the fact that this alleged map, and I call it alleged because it is yet to be seen whether it meets the Commissioner's Court's requirements for a map. I contend that it does not, and I'll get into that in a minute. But a lot has been made of the fact that it complies with federal law because it creates precincts of equal size. I would point out that that is only one aspect of federal law as regards redistricting. The salient fact is that this proposed map violates Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act in many, many respects. There have been those who spoke in favor of this map, who used the terms packing and cracking. I submit that these are terms of art in redistricting, and they do not refer to communities. They refer to protected classes under the Voting Rights Act, particularly Section 2. This map does both pack and crack. It cracks the minority community of East Arlington away from its historic home in Precinct 2, a place where they were able to elect the candidate of their choice, Commissioner Devin Allen, and packs them into Precinct 1, where they would have the ability to vote for an African American, but not two African Americans, only one. This is termed retrogression under the Voting Rights Act, and retrogression is one of those thou shalt nots. This map is guilty of packing, cracking, and retrogression. So it does not meet federal law at all. Mansfield has been brought up. Mansfield is not split under the current Commissioner's Court boundaries. So saying that it is not split under this new map is irrelevant, because it is not split under the current map. This map splits a significant community of interest, the city of Arlington, in favor of alleged communities of interest in the Southern Corridor. I am sure that that will never be acceptable to the people of the city of Arlington. Finally, this map arrived to us. This map came to us in a state of dead on arrival because it did not meet the terms that were adopted by this court. To be considered in maps submitted to this court. I submit that you cannot revive a corpse. You cannot breathe life into that dead body by moving, by splitting precincts, and by trying to reach over and after the fact include my residence into a bogusly drawn map. This map was ham-handed, was drawn without sensitivity to the issues that this court said that were important to us in redistricting. And no amount of tinkering with it is going to change that. The fact is, this map separates Precinct 1 from all of its county road lines, leaves us with not an inch of a county road. I suppose that's why they took my maintenance facility. Because if you don't have any roads, you don't need a maintenance facility. But that dog won't hunt. It does not include my residence into the proposed Precinct 1. And that's a fatal flaw that cannot be cured after the fact. The fact is that when it got to us, it did not meet our requirements and therefore is not worthy of further consideration by this body. Judge, I will stop at this point.
Commissioner Allen?
Oh, please go ahead.
JD, any comments?
No, not really.
Okay, if there are no other comments, I'm gonna make a few before we go ahead and go to a vote. Last week I attempted to try to square things up a little bit because I felt like that there was some tweaking that needed to be done. But as I look at this proposed map, I do believe that it divides parts of Arlington, and Arlington has for, at least as long as I've been on this court, prided itself, maybe sometimes even to a fault, of we're going to stay as Arlington, we're going to deal and as much as possible work with people who live in Arlington and have businesses in Arlington. So that's a division that I felt like this map doesn't properly respect. It does split. I don't know, it may not split Grand Prairie anymore because I think, at least under the proposed, it does? Okay.
It does.
Then it splits Grand Prairie. It takes Precinct 1, which has, to a great extent, been a launch of Fort Worth, even the little reach out to the east, which was one of the things that I had at least recommended we might try to pull back a little bit. And in my thoughts, that was not necessarily the best thing to do. I heard a lot of mention today of the fact that it's much similar to what the state has done. I've said it before and will continue to say it. Right now, the federal government and the state don't seem to want to work with both of the groups within their party, the Republicans and Democrats. They just want to work against one another instead of opposed. In the 25 years I've been on this court, we have not chosen to do that. We have chosen to work together. And so for something to come up that doesn't include the commissioner's precinct in there or house residents in there and takes one from one side of the county to the other side of the county is, I think, a step too far. I would have been all for small tweaks that would have kept communities, cities together. I think people move into cities, they don't move so much into communities. There'll be those who'll argue with that. But I believe that, and I think this does not recognize that. And so for those reasons, I'm not going to vote for consideration of this, and by that I mean I'm going to vote for what we got. And so with that, I will ask for a vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-1.
I can't see the board. Who opposed it?
Commissioner Fickus opposed.
Okay.
Members of the court, if we can go to item number 5. This is the issue of casting votes, our 515 votes, as it relates to the Tarrant Appraisal District Board of Directors. Let me make a few comments first. When you look at the letter that TAD had given us, they had given us a date of December 15th that the votes needed to be taken. You might recall when we first laid this out to you the other day, and when you nominated individuals, that the legislature had changed the statute on entities that had at least 5% of the vote. And it required that we actually take a vote within the next 2 meetings, regularly scheduled meetings of that body, once we received the ballots from the TAD from the TAD office. We received those Friday afternoon, so we have 2 dates that we can vote. One is today, and one is November 9th. Since we have to turn our ballots in by November 12th. Because of that, I would suggest that unless the court wants to take action now, you do have the flexibility to do this next Tuesday also. We're seeking direction.
I'll be in a lot better mood to consider this next Tuesday than I am right this minute.
I would like for us to wait till next Tuesday.
I support that.
Okay, thank you. We'll have that on the agenda for next Tuesday. So, members of the court, if we can now go to item number 7. We're requesting that the Commissioners Court approve the Tarrant County Dispute Resolution Program fee schedule and mediator stipend schedule as provided in your court communication.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Members of the court, we also pull item number 9 off of the consent agenda. I'm going to ask Mr. Merrick to come forward and discuss that with you. I think we have one audience participation form.
Good morning, court members. On the agenda today, originally under consent, we had an approval to the addendum of the agreement we passed a couple of weeks ago with MHMR and ILA. At the request of the auditor's office, we worked on this amendment. The idea is to add in an Appendix C. Appendix C further delineates the cost of what will be Tarrant County's responsibility and what will be the responsibility of MHMR. There's no fiscal impact into it. It's just which bucket of funding it's coming out of. So this was what we were asking for your approval for today.
Okay, we have one audience participation. Mr. Bucher.
Good morning. How are y'all?
Good
morning. How are you?
And, you know, as I spoke on this before, I'm all for the jail diversion program. I mean, 100%. The only thing that I did see that I wasn't really impressed with is like just bringing low-level, you know, MHMR individuals with low-level charges in there instead of, you know, violent ones. You know, I think that we should still bring them in because, I mean, most of the time when they come in crisis mode, they're in there for violent charges. And so, you know, we don't have the proper, you know, training or, you know, certifications to deal with that, nor do we have the medical professionals to deal with that. And a lot of times they don't take them straight to JPS to get them regulated and then come back. I think they all should go there in one form or fashion. Now, how do we work that out? You know, I'll leave that up to y'all. You know, how do we, when they come in and they're in crisis mode, can we get them to a point of calming, you know, without medicine? Sometimes that's not an option. Sometimes they have to give them a high dose of Benadryl is what they give them to calm them down. And then when they come back to rationale, get them regulated. And then, you know, if they have a high charge, then bring them into the jail more regulated, more able to think clearly. And that's the only thing that I see that I was like, can we look at that and deal with that aspect? You know, because a lot of, it's more 1 out of 10 comes in, they're okay. The other 9 come in and they're just in crisis mode, they're fighting and everything like that. You know, and that comes from all demographics, you know, because it's not just one particular, you know, so I think that we need to kind of come together and figure out how to, you know, ease that in there. Other than that, I'm for it. I'm all for it.
Thank you, Mr. Bucher.
Yes, sir.
Do I have a motion?
Move approval of the First Amendment to the interlocal agreement between Tarrant County and MHMR.
Second.
We have a motion to second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. I'm now going to move to public comments. Mr. Brewster.
Wait. We didn't do the...
No, we didn't do anything. I'm just going to move down to where this guy can, who's sat through all this other stuff, can now.
How y'all doing this morning? I'm Mike Brewster. I live at 117 Oak Trail in the big city of Rendon. We seem to be pretty well represented here today. And in November of 21, you would think we would be ready to let go of the November of 2020 election, but I'm here to tell you that no, we're not quite there yet. I'm a technician and I've got a little business experience, and there's a number of things there that just don't seem right to me and a number of other people still today. The reason I'm before y'all today, we would like to have this looked at and audited. In fact, there's a large group that are working on that. We think we're making some traction, and we're not giving up on this. The reason I come before y'all is that in January, the county is planning on updating the software on a good bit of its election equipment. That would entail overwriting all the information that's currently on those hard drives. There's a lot of going back and forth on that. Many of us would prefer that's not done at all. I have spoken to Mr. Garcia, and I have offered 2 alternatives at least of ways that update could be done and that data can be preserved. I will send a letter to each of you within the week that will detail those methods. And one of the reasons I'm here today is I want to begin to put this on the public record and to make the public aware of the issues that are involved here. We all want to think that our elections are very well run and are free and fair. But we're using integrated technology equipment to run these elections. There is no such thing as a secure internet IT system. And when we run our elections, this is probably the most valuable thing IT is ever used for, the elections of the United States government. The people that might be interested in that would be very sophisticated, and they might be very well funded, people that would be interested in affecting that. I don't think people fully appreciate that. Typically, when I bring up that point, it is brought to me that, well, you know, we're air-gapped and everything's fine, but I'm going to give you just a little bit of an example that affects all of us. My electric meter is air-gapped.
not connected to the internet. But somehow on 15-minute intervals, the data from that meter managed to find its way to the internet. It winds up on the electric company servers, and they send me to a bill. I really kind of wish that air gap had worked a little better than it did. Maybe I wouldn't get that bill. But there are lots of methods to make that happen. If you are sophisticated enough and you've got the money enough, there's lots of ways to impact IT systems. We need to look at ours a little bit closer, I think. And I'll get with y'all on some details on that in the future. And today I appreciate the time, but I want to make sure that y'all know that the issue is there. And we think that update needs to be looked at a little bit closer. And I'll be getting with you on that.
Thank you, Mr. Brewster.
Thank y'all.
Now we're back to the personnel agenda.
Move to receive and file the personnel agenda.
Second.
We have a motion to second to receive and file the personnel agenda. Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. And Judge, if I could just remind our employees that annual benefits enrollment is underway. Enrollment ends next Wednesday, November 10th. So that'll be the last day if you'd like to make changes to your benefit elections for next year. If you allow this window to close, the only opportunity that you will have next year to make changes is if you have a qualifying event. For example, if you get married, if you have a new baby, if you get divorced, etc. So now is the time to act. Please do so by next Wednesday, November 10th. We stand ready to serve you on the third floor if you have questions or need assistance with enrollment.
Thank you. Are there any appointments today?
I have one, Your Honor. I'd like to appoint Brandon Teague to the MHMR Board of Trustees.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to appoint Brandon Teague to the trustees of MHMR. Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Any other appointments? And you have before you the claims, including the addendum.
Move approval of the claims, including the addendum.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the claims, including the addendum. Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. I believe we have taken care of all of our briefing items. So
That's correct, Your Honor.
at this point in time, we will recess our open meeting to proceed to close to discuss items exempted under sections 551.071, 072, 074, 076, and 087, and 0725 of the Texas Government Code. Having returned from closed session, there being no business to, wait a minute, start over. Having returned from closed session, there being no business to conduct at this time, we stand adjourned. Thank y'all. You all have a great day.
It's already been just a ducky day.